Okay, once again, I'm here to talk a little bit about what I've been doing last 2 days, or 1.5 days maybe, and then also to say a little bit, the Dharma things, relation to, what is happening with this virus, and how can we really apply what Buddha taught, and subsequently many of the Indian and Tibetan or other, the national teachers and just ordinary people, how they try to put common sense and some of the basic human good qualities, how they apply in this difficult time. So it is really, as I mentioned, the main two reasons. The first is just let people know, I'm well, I'm still speaking, I haven't dead yet, and also to say, to share some of the Dhamma things. So those are the two main reasons why we have this, the recording, the recorded talk. So yesterday was Sunday, and usually, the Tuesday is the holiday here, day off, holiday in the sense day off during the week, because Tuesday is the local market day. And although we have in Sarah, we have two main kitchens, ceramic kitchen and Sarajay kitchens, and the foods are provided from there. But still, the monks, different houses, individual monks, they go to buy vegetables and some other things to the local town called Kushalnagar, which is about 6 or 7, or a little bit less, maybe 5 kilometers from here. And so that's why when the Sarah monastery moved down to here in the south from the east India, so they follow the local, local what they need. So they need to do the shopping. Doesn't matter whether Sunday is the usual holiday or not. So those elderly monks make that decision more than 40 years ago, I think, even longer, I think. Now we still follow that. So Tuesday is holiday, the day off. But yesterday I took some photos from my windows, which I'm going to share later. I already sent some of the photos to my friends. And around exactly this time, and now I'm still looking from my window, I can see the one straight from my window, and I can't see the other one. And it's completely deserted. It's completely deserted for two reasons. Because usually, even if not this kind of, emergency case, this kind of time during the day, from 12:30 to 2:30, it is the monks' the best time for the day, because it is the time they go to bed to have a good rest, particularly in this kind of hot time. So normally this time is very quiet, and now, because of this virus, and asked monks, we have asked monks stay indoor as much as you can. You go out only if it is necessary. You can't see a single monk. Only you can hear the cows moving one coconut tree to another coconut tree. That's it. And so why I'm saying this is this. So yesterday, this is on the pipeline. I've been preparing, talking to Changzus. Changzus are who like in charge of the running the monastery kitchen and so forth. So now some of the monasteries, like for example Serije, and they decided to not to run the main kitchen, but give it to the individual convents and monks, the main, what you call the rice and flowers. I think I may have already said that. And the ceremony, we decided not to do that. So yesterday, our main task was to set up a vegetable, monks who are cooking or top up what is provided from the main kitchen, if they want to top up a little bit of vegetable and the things. So, there's no market they can go, which is tomorrow. Tomorrow is Tuesday. They can't go. So from yesterday, we start now have in the school courtyard, we set the in charge, the Changzus, they set up vegetable, like not really selling as making profit, but really to just get the money what they paid for the Indians. And so most of my morning, I was not really going physically there, but talking to the Changzu and arranging all those things. So, why I'm saying that is, as one of the conditions to keep our body well and healthy is having a good food, nutritious food. When I look at the vegetables yesterday, not physically, but the Changzu showed me the photos, and they looked very fresh. Very much, it seems like a straight way from the fields, and so forth. So I was thinking about, have they used any pesticides? And this is what my mind came back from the UK while I was living there, and they told, vegetable, you should eat what's called organic. They don't use pesticides, and so on and so forth. So I talked to the local Indian man who distributed, and I asked him, have you used those things? And he has no idea because he's the Bedouin dealer. He was not the farmer. Anyway, that is so, and yet that is how I spent my day yesterday. A little bit other things, and today I went to visit some of those houses were allocated 2-3 rooms for the monks who coming back from, went to see their parents or visit some, went to pilgrimage. And so when me and our ceremony discipline teacher, and went to see, some of those houses, how they are keeping those later coming monks more isolated and so forth. So this is, I'm going to talk with a little bit today's Dharma topic. So we visited 4 houses. They are scattered in a different part of the ceremony. And so our first visit was one of the houses, and they allocated entire, I think they may have 7 or 8 rooms, and with a small courtyard. And what you call there were 8 monks having living in each room. 2 monks are sharing one room. They arrived same time, same day, And so that place was the place I had lots of connection while I was here as a student, as a student. And of course, there are some changes, but the basic structure of the building is exactly the same, and that brought lots of past memories, and some are very, very positive, some are very difficult memories. So the positive memories, which I would like to share a little bit today, and that is in that house, there was a monk. Came, from Tibet during soon after 1959. Those, original, I would say, we will say the original Sera monks. That means about 300 monks from Sergei men established, came over from Tibet soon after 1959. And this monk was one of them. And he is not that learned as an academically, but he is a very, very practical man. Very, very practical man. And, if we use the term, very, what's called, I can't say without any self-centered, but very, 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 sort of constantly thinking for the others. And so those days, our foods and everything's compared to these days, very, very basic and minimal, really minimal. And very often, the certain period of time, we get offerings, bread offerings, and so forth. For example, during the Great Prayer Day, then that means every morning we get bread, and also during the day. So we can't eat all. And what we do, I'm not we, those monks, those who are taking care of us, and put because the very hot water, they will dry, and they will say, when days become very long, these bread will be very, very helpful. And this is the monk who really, had done this every year, those while he was here with us. And so it is not for him, need to eat, when these gatherings are finished, but he's constantly thinking about us, these young monks, and very energetic, very constantly, age 18, 19, constantly looking for something to eat. So that monk lives in that house, and looking back, very, selflessly helping others. That small things. This is what I'm bringing my example. That just drying the spare breads, not wasting, not throwing. While have a little bit plenty, he constantly collect them and put it. Even if it's very hard, he will put there and dry. And so like that, this kind of time, this kind of situation, even, what we need to do, we need to, as I mentioned the other day, need to plan in the morning to whatever, we can support to others. with the protection to ourselves. As I gave you an example the other day, when we fly in the aeroplane, and they always say, first put your own mask, then support your children or others. Similar to that, use this common sense means and methods. Then, whatever we can, however we can, even if it is very small, to very consciously, very thoughtfully, supporting others. In other words, to bring up our basic positive human nature. And although there are lots of the debate whether human nature is compassion or not, and those are the academic the debate. At this stage, we don't need those debates, and it is quite clear. It is quite clear, that now looking back, looking to the list, reading, news on the BBC, 20-something thousand, what you call the retired nurses or what you call the doctors came back to work in the NHS in England or in the UK. And that is really what it shows, the basic human nature, basic human, those good qualities. And what we need to do, we need to enhance them very deliberately, very consciously, and day by day, week by week, month by month. I feel, although it's very sad and very scaring time, but this virus, taking this situation as a, bringing, this virus may, if we learn well, it would really may teach us very good lessons how to as human beings, how to work with our basic human nature. And so therefore, the point what I'm making is the small things that what we can do. I can see, when we talk, for example, when I say these things, and there are some people wrote me, saying, "Oh, I have some pounds. Can I send you to UK and to you?" I said, "No." I said, "Do it your area. At your area, there are people who need help and support. Yes, there are, some area may need overall, maybe the Tibetan community in India, if we compare, in terms of the material wealth, compared to the West, like the developed country, yes, it might be very basic. But if it compare with some of the, sub-Sahara, African, and even in here in India, millions of Indians, as you saw in the news, after a great leader, Modi ji, closed down without any warning. Big disaster. That these people, when they interview, it's heartbreaking. So I think no matter where you are, there are, the sort of people who need financial or physical or some kind of advice. And that is what we need to do locally. And of course, if we have all these facilities, all the infrastructure, then we can, and strength, then if we are able to reach others as many as, that is different. But like our situation, just trying to do it locally and support local And this is what I'm saying. I already said this in many last 2-3 hours, my blah blah. What I'm saying, why I'm bringing this again and again is, when we bring this, talk this point to really to bring, to nurture, to enhance that kind of basic human nature. That kind of very the caring, not just for one's own lives or loved ones, but also trying to bring care, or at least in mentally thinking for others' well-being. It is said as many of you have heard, in the Lojong text, I think it is in the 7-point mind training. In Tibetan it says, "Lelen tamje chigrata." That means, all those disasters, all those misfortunes are very much, by the one thing. That is talking about self-centered mind, that selfish mind. So coronavirus, destroys the families, individual lives, and so on and so forth. But it cannot destroy basic human nature, our mental state. It cannot destroy the good heart, love, compassion. It cannot. So what we need to do, to really to enhance that. And how to enhance, as many of you already know, have received many teachings, have read many books, really to do those practical, small things with the consciously thinking, others are as important as my own needs, supports, my own, that will be very useful. And then, of course, people who have some form of recitations like Tara mantra, like Charisic mantra, whenever you can, with that thought, entire, at this stage, at this time, entire humanity in this world worry about, unless those small children, they may not have that understanding. Otherwise, entire humanity is worried about this virus. Think about entire humanity, for their well-being, and bring, into your prayer, bring into your dedication, but also, as His Holiness says very often, it is, of course, dedication and prayers are useful and helpful, but practically engaging with that good heart, love, compassion, altruism, really practically working with that is very, very effective, very what's called, and in that way, those basic human nature will be enhanced, will be nurtured, and these are the time. These are the time, as in the Lojong practice says, turn the misfortunes into, some sort of virtues or positive. And that is, these are the opportunity, the time to turn the difficult time into more constructive, more positive. And in this case, I'm talking about to enhance, our basic human good nature. That's good heart, love, compassion. So I started talking about this monk. He passed away, I think, 1992 or 93, soon after I moved to the West. And today, visiting there and having that, having that memory, how, although it's very small, just dry, leftover bread, but he very consciously, very thoughtfully, very sort of, and not just once, year after year after year, and doing that really, I'm sure that some of the monks who, brought up in that way with his care, or others, when they remember that, like today, I had that very vivid and very strong memory of that monk, thinking about how grateful, and that is what we human being can, when we leave this mind and body from this world, and that sort of things should be left behind us to the other generations, coming up generations. In that way is really what His Holiness Dalai Lama says very often, how to reach out to the many is in a very one-to-one, then bit by bit. What he says very often, 1 to 10, 10 to 20 to 100, 100 to, in that way to reach out the entire humanity. And that is really something to helpful and useful to do, particularly in this kind of difficult time. One of the reasons why I remember that, and why those are that kind of that monk's action is very vivid and very sort of strong in my mind, because during that period was not easy period, as I mentioned. And not just me, entire monastery, entire Tibetan community, the 1970s and 80s. Unlike these days, everything is very basic, very, very basic. And but under that kind of situation, somebody like this monk who selflessly, support us, and that is how, we should be as human beings. But we have the, as we all know, we have the potential, and not only many of you, not just have the potential, are doing it, I'm sure doing it. But we need to enhance that as much as we can. In that way, I think deep down, the day might be a little bit busy because of, with that intention, with that motivation, interacting according to our, the capacity, age capacity, physical capacity, financial capacity, whatever. They might be very busy. But when day slows down, and then when you look back, there will be deep down there will be sense of meaning having this mind and body, and the sense of some kind of contribution to the others. So the calm mind, peaceful mind. The other day I read a article. I think it is in New York Times or somewhere from America. Which university? I think Yale or Yale University. Just last few days, more than 500,000 people enroll to one of their courses. And that is, the course, the name is called Science of Happiness. Science of Happiness. And all over the world, it is an online course. And so they mention a few what they do, and it is almost exactly the same. There's no Dharma terms are used. Otherwise, the first one is mindfulness. That's what they teach. Second one is what I just said, really trying to support others, and so on. So it is. That really, as I mentioned earlier, that really shows the, when we face this kind of, the entire humanity in a sort of sense of fear, then yes, research when the vaccination is going to come, and some of those, not very effective, the solutions. People say, "Oh, eat this." I heard in America or somewhere in the West, if you have lots of vitamin C, that will protect you. And then so people get ill, or people get sort of taking huge doses of vitamin C. So yes, research that, but also that is when I read that article, it is the sign we humans search solution also inward, not just outward. When this kind of difficult time, research solution, at least not to cure the illness itself, but when it comes, mentally, how we, handle the situation. And in people who have been with the teachings of the Buddha, these are we constantly talk about: peace of mind, mindfulness, and mindfulness, peace of mind. Yes, it is useful, watch your breath, but these are just starting point. The best practicing mindfulness is having love, compassion, altruism. Mindful with those mental qualities will be very, very helpful, and tremendous sense of peace, and the sense of relaxation. Not just because the breathing slowly and counting the breath you are breathing, but also constantly experiencing love, compassion, altruism, and acting with that, and be mindful with that. So with those mental qualities will be amazing, useful, and helpful. So that is my today's blah blah. And keep safe, be happy, and I will send you a few photos of what you can see from our window, and that is really something. Trey and Peter will upload in the website, and you can look at some of. I sent some photos to some of my friends yesterday, but I took that yesterday, almost exactly the same time and at this time. So quite nice. You will see where I am and what I can see from my windows. Okay, so I will talk to you maybe next day or day after, and just say other short blah blah. Okay, thank you. Oh yeah.